Happy Sunday. It's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hello, you most beautiful stars. In the States, most of us are cold right now, so be safe. Be with your loved ones. Do as you need to do. I hope all is well. I am Courtney, host of Stars of the Morning Light. To any of my brethren and sisters and beautiful stars across the pond, wherever you may be, may love and light be treating you well. Oh my goodness. Good. Hello, Miss Shelley. So, I will tell you, I didn't get to the records to find out a message. I didn't do it. Well, it's really because of trying to play catch up from being sick like all of February. And so today, I'm like, ooh, I know I'm going live at 2. That I will do. That's my integrity. If I don't show up, I will always tell people. But I don't have a message. But yet I've had something in my head all morning, so I guess I do have a message. So this is more of a Sunday message, Courtney rant, gonna be good. We're gonna kind of dive into a little bit of backstory of Hermes. I'm just gonna read a small section because I do believe for the Emerald Tablets of Tot the Atlantean, I do need to finish some stuff that's in my playlist that are not finished, which is based on Hermetics. So I do believe I'm going to start doing that because I just don't like unfinished stuff out there. It's not who I am. But I'm going to talk, as we did on Friday, a little bit about Atlantis, the Tower of Bable, bring a little Hermes in there, and a little bit of the importance of words, language, and the current climate. Definitely hear a lot in the States. This is, I will be referencing more of the States, which, you know what? All eyes are on us usually anyways. And I know that I'm not trying to sound conceited like an American would, but man, I get why. We are a fascinating story now, aren't we, folks? Hello, Ms. Lori. Good to see you in the chat. Enjoy. And a lot of this, if you guys missed the show that aired last night, Alex was on doing the numerology for 2023 and our individual personal numbers that will be playing out in 2023, the energy influence. And if you watched last night, you learned that I'm in my year 3. And the first thing in 3 is you will find your voice and you will strengthen your voice. So if you guys really want to know, this is Courtney's voice pretty much every morning. I'm going through, in my head, current issues relating back to ancient texts, relating back to this. That's how my mind rolls. So I figured, what the heck, let's share. That's what we should do anyways. So let's kick it off with what I will always say, and I did pull a card. It kind of jumped out of the deck, so I said that's cool. So I will show a card. Let's just say, as I do all the time here, I love stories, right? I love stories. This is one of the reasons why I am able to go to the Akashic. Because I appreciate everyone's individual stories, all of their stories for all of their lives. I appreciate all potentiality. I am able to see the all. So it's a somewhat of a blessing to have that ingrained in me. The appreciation for stories, just period, stories. And I think most people do, if they receive stories, how stories really were always passed on with storytelling often. But with stories, especially if you studied how to write them like I did and learn, I took an entire class, well, maybe it wasn't an entire class, but an entire month of one of my classes was just on fables, myths, ancient texts, like how these stories are told and retold and stuff like that. So it's very fascinating when you start really studying things. And what you will learn, and what many of you know, is that there's always multiple sides to a story. We kind of reference that there's two sides of a coin, two sides of a story. No, there's actually always three, and there can also be multiple, depending on the story and the context. Yeah, I know. It's not just one sided. So, as we take that in, that there's always different things happening and variations and different sides, and it's not even just your perspective of the story. There literally can be multiple sides to one story. And please, in the message today, please take everything I'm saying and really take it to heart and see it as metaphors in a lot of ways. When I say stuff like there's multiple sides to one story, please, throughout this message, there's going to be stuff that I'm not going to see it through full thought, because that is for everyone to develop their own thinking and reasoning and thoughts. So, I will tell you, actually, I'm kind of like this no matter where I am. And there's a lot of people that kind of drives them crazy. you could ask me a very simple question, and then all of a sudden my answer is all this metaphor and symbols, and it does get people frustrated. Like, Courtney, we just literally asked you a question. Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. So I use dill in that recipe, dillweed. Like, it could be something very simple. The answer is very simple, and I'm now in metaphors. It's because I think in metaphors. I think in all that ways. So, just a little fun on a Sunday, right? I hope you all are safe. Before we begin, number 17 came out for the card. 17 for the card of Sacred Geometry deck. Consciousness. It jumped out and I said, yeah, we're going to roll with it. Consciousness. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all the multi-dimensional aspects that show up, so that we can include them in our reality. All of the sides of the stories. All of the sides. I'm going to read that again. Consciousness. Consciousness. And remember, consciousness is frequency. I actually, I'll say this too. I had a reading by Mary Jo Tavern that is going to be at the event, the New Earth Energy Market, April 29th in Ringgold, Georgia, just 20 minutes under Chattanooga, Tennessee. She's a great channeler, and she's just a great being. I mean, I adore Mary. And years ago, I got a reading from Mary, which was good. I needed it at that time. I was kind of going through some stuff. This is way before you guys met me. And she wanted to tell me, well, she was talking to my guides and my ancestors. And one of the parts of the message was that I guess it is somewhat unique to be able to see all the sides of the stories. And not all people can do that. And what I'm trying to propose is that we can. We just might not open ourselves up to it. But we can. We really can. I'm just open to it. I'm just open to knowing that absolutely nothing is black and white, and absolutely nothing is just one or two or even three sides. So we can. And it is conscious, which, remember, is also frequency. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all the multi-dimensional aspects that show up, that just show up in life, that just show up, so that we can include them, into our reality. All the multi-dimensional aspects, so we can include them into our reality consciously. Man, that's so beautiful. That's beautiful. I love that deck. For anybody that wants to know, it is a beautiful deck. It is, I'll hold up the box. It is a very, very beautiful deck. So, I'm not exactly sure where I want to start. I did jot down some notes like 5 minutes before I sat down. Before we go into Hermes, I want to emphasize that this is really going to be about language and words. Very much. But I want to go back, because of that, to the story in the Bible. I don't have the Bible in front of me. I can just reference it. A lot of people know this story. If not, I'll tell enough for people to understand. I want to reference the Tower of Babel. It is in the Old Testament. So, one side of that story, will tell it as in the people were very greedy and very ego-based, and some will reference that this is really when ego started taking over, and that the people wanted to be just as powerful as God, and to also get closer to God so they could be more like God. And so they all came together and started building this tower, this very large tower, to try to reach to the heavens, to climb it to the heavens. And of course, the God of this interpretation in this story was not a happy God. You know, we all know he did some stuff that he did not like, that these humans thought that they could even reach the heights of heaven and be like him and be powerful. So he immediately tore down that tower and scattered the people, giving each group a different way of speaking, different language. So they could not come together and ever do that again. That's what they said. That's what one version is. And that's how we got all these different pockets of race, colors, and creeds all out there, is because of the Tower of Babel. And that God said, nope, you can never be like me. And so now I got to spread you across this land, and none of you are going to be able to understand each other when you come together. That's that one side. I want to pose something. I'm just going to pose a thought. We were talking about Atlantis yesterday in my Friday live at 11. And we talked that Atlantis had a power source. I even brought up Tesla at the end for everybody to kind of really start wrapping their head around how big of an idea Tesla was trying to create. But we also learned that, at least in the Emerald Tablets, and there's some other documentation about this, that at some point in Atlantis, that power source that was in the center of everything was taken down deep into the heart of the earth, and that's how the Great Flood happened. Okay. So now we got actually two stories going on. The fall of Atlantis, because it was also written there that is because the people there started to become corrupt, and they wanted that power source for themselves, to do all the bad stuff for themselves. And Horlet, the dweller, went, oh, no, no, no. Now we got to take that power source down, completely disrupting the planet. Here's the flood. Okay, so now we just also heard the Tower of Babel. These people were creating this huge tower to try to be more like God. And I find it interesting that we tend to associate the term God with power. And we also refer to very large towers like that as power sources. Power source. That's a huge tower of power source. Which we also then reference God. Many people refer to God as source. So we have an association with God or source, also representing power. But now we have in two separate stories, supposedly, that there's this huge kind of tower that either brings you closer to God or is a grand, great power source. Wow. A lot of these things all mean the same. So what were they doing in the Tower of Babel? Were they trying to create a power source? And what does power actually mean? And how is that power source actually being created? Through everyone communicating together? Everyone was beginning and starting to build a very large power source because all humans were communicating together? This is all very fascinating now, isn't it? All very fascinating. Two completely different stories. Two completely different stories. And you could look at one as the destruction and the separation of man because of the outcome there. But remember, here, at least at Stars of the Morning Light, we don't focus so much on the cause. We focus on the effects, right? To create a new cause. So the cause was people coming together. Both versions will tell you is in a horrible negative way to have all of the power. Both versions will say that. What if it wasn't that? What if it was just people coming together and forming great power? And then, of course, that's the cause, and the effects is something happened to separate those people. To separate those. So now we know the cause and effect there. And now we also, if you know any history, if you know what happened yesterday, it doesn't even matter. If you know any history in this world, we have been separated ever since. And the majority, other than the 1-5%, we have no power. We have no power source. We have no power. So that's the effects. So here at Stars of the Morning Light, we like to think about creating new causes, establishing something new, doing something new, and even if it's a version of the old, it can create new effects. So I hope everybody's tracking. Yeah, I know, I love it. Isn't it interesting? And I did bring up Tesla real quick with the Atlantis bit yesterday with his oscillator. It's very mechanical, very this, very that. And I'm not opposed to Tesla. Tesla was a brilliant man. I think that we're far from Tesla now, understanding the earth better, understanding our own selves better, understanding technology better. You know, I also brought up technology at some point. Because I know too, you beautiful stars, and I would start paying attention. This is, if there's anything you really need to pay attention to in this next week, is just pay attention to this. Because I've been tracking for at least, I think now, it's been 2 years at least, I'll say. That my little phone, wherever it is, oh, see, I don't even have it. My little phone, it's not like it's not that the algorithms, the power source that's inside there, the wide web, and whoever is sitting behind that seat, it's not like they're just tracking our stuff they're listening to our conversations, or they're coming up with algorithms with what we search or look at, or this and that. And it's interesting because a lot of people are still very afraid of that, and I don't really understand why, because they already have everything. Anything that they can harm you with financially or personally, like harm you personally with, they already got. So I don't know what that fear is really. And they definitely can't, like, they're not downloading your consciousness, because that is, your consciousness goes so far back that, trust me, they can't. But what they can do then, though, is the manipulation of things via, and we're seeing that. We're seeing it. It's not just so much what pops up into your feed that might agitate you, or this, or even things that you might like. It's they can kind of manipulate different pockets, different individuals, with those ways, and it goes a little bit deeper. And I'm sure, and we understand this. We know that, but they can't actually really do anything to you. They're not doing anything necessarily to you other than trying to switch your mind into areas. That's all it is. They're not doing anything. Everything that could actually harm you, they already have the information for. I'm sorry, they know your social security name and your mother's maiden name. They already got it. So they're not going to do anything to you. I love how most humans have such grandiose ideas about themselves. I do. Hello, Miss Chloe. I do. I love it. It's a fascinating thing to me. So much centered in self that it's like, yeah, they don't care if you're watching videos about cats and then watching videos about Congress. They do not care. They're doing their own thing. You're like, I mean, individually. They look at the mass, not individual. But everybody can't get out of the individual. I'm sorry, I'm kind of picking on people now, because it is true. It's interesting how humans are. Because they can't see the one. They can't see the all. They can't see that creation is creation. There's absolutely no difference between you and the spider. There's absolutely no difference between you and your four-legged. There's absolutely no difference between... I hate to tell you, there's actually no big, massive difference other than the energy and the title on it and the way it wants to represent itself between you and a demon. Do I think demons are bad? Bad mamma jammas? You don't let them into your life? You don't do anything there? Yeah. But they're also still part of creation. They're a part of the all. They're a part of the all. And this is why, in like movies with like good versus evil, superhero against villain against, or superhero against villain, that sort of thing. That good never actually really kills the bad guy. It barely ever happens, and we're always like, why don't you just take him out? Because good understands the all. Light understands that there's light in all creation. Light understands the all. And so we don't just go around killing stuff. We don't just go around not recognizing you're a part of creation as I am a part of creation. I want nothing to do with you, and you have to get far away from me and all the loved ones. But that doesn't necessarily mean things all have to die and there's this and that, because there's absolutely no separation. I went to that extreme because I do want to make a point today. I went to that extreme right now. Are they bad? Yeah. Do you not mess with them? Yeah. Does it serve you no purpose or good to do so? Yeah. But same as that's how they view us. Trust me, they don't like me. Trust me. But the light will always care and know that in all of creation, there is light. Let's talk about Hermes. Yay! Because I am going to bring it back. I told everybody I'm not the biggest Hermes fan, but I do think I need to cover it before I go further into the toast stuff on Friday. So I'm going to be covering the parts that I left off and really feel like I need to finish in my playlist, which is a lot of Hermetics. So this is a brief part. I'm going to read the words. This is kind of the story of how Hermes started getting his messages. And I'm not going to go through the entire story. I'm not going to read the whole story. And this I am referencing and reading from The Secret Teachings of All the Ages from Manly P. Hall. Love this book. Love this book. So Hermes, Hermetics, he had a vision, deep meditation, believed he was talking to something. And then here's the thing. That's why stories is like, was he not? The Polyander, this who was actually came to him as a dragon. This is why we get a lot of thoughts of, in all these different stories, that the world was actually created by a dragon. And dragons are very important in many different cultures and traditions and faiths and stories. So here's Hermes getting all this information from a dragon. And that's kind of where I want to just read right now for a moment. This is how he started. This is his beginning. There's a dragon talking to him. So I'm just reading a brief little bit. When it says Polymandrous, we're just going to say dragon. So there again, the dragon's talking to him. These are the dragon's words. I, thy God. So I'm God. Am the light and the mind which were before substance was divided from spirit and darkness from light. And the Word, which appeared as a pillar of flame out of the darkness, is the Son of God, born of the mystery of the mind. The name of that word is reason. Reason. I'm going to keep going. Reason is the offspring of thought. And reason shall divide the light from the darkness and establish truth in the midst of the waters. Understand, O Hermes, and meditate deeply upon the mystery. That which in you sees and hears is not of the earth, but is the word of God incarnate. So it is said that divine light dwells in the midst of mortal darkness, and the ignorance cannot divide them. The union of word and the mind produces that mystery which is called life. I'm going to pause there. That was a lot said. I might have to read it again. So, this message from a dragon: I, God, the light and the mind, which were before substance, was divided from spirit and darkness. So I, God, light and mind, that's pretty easy, right? Light and mind, which is apparently God in this description, was divided from spirit and darkness from light. So all of this division, so light and mind were divided from spirit and darkness, and they were divided from light. And the word which appeared as a pillar of flame out of the darkness is the Son of God, born of the mystery of the mind. The name of that word is reason. Reason is the offspring of thought, and reason shall divide the light from the darkness and establish truth in the midst of waters. So he talked about, so in the tablets, as we talked about here a lot, it talked about thought piercing through the veil, piercing through the darkness, creating word. The word and thought were like the same thing. The word and thought were like the same thing in the tablets. Here, we have word. Where is it going to say? Word and mind. So word and mind. And he also said, was the light, the pillar of flame, out of the darkness is the Son of God, born of the mystery of mind. That is what also divided, because the light divided spirit from darkness. Divided spirit from darkness. So, word, mind, light. So now we have three things. Word, mind, light. That is able to divide spirit from darkness. Word, mind, light. Okay, cool. Cool. The name of that word, everybody's asking me all the time, what's the word, Courtney? What's the word? It doesn't really matter because it's your words all the time. That's why this message is going to be really based about words. The name of the word is reason. So that first word, though, reason is the offspring of thought. So the tablets say it's thought. Well, so Hermes was like, it was really the offspring, well, the dragon talking to Hermes, said it was really the offspring from thought, because thought is actually mind to this, in a way. So, reason, so now we gotta change it again. So now it's reason, mind, and light. Okay, so reason. So now we got to take the word away. We're going to replace the word with reason. Oh, so reason also divides the spirit from the darkness. Okay. I'm just going with what's being said here. That's all I'm doing. Reason is the offspring of thought, and reason should divide the light from the darkness. So reason shall forever on be what divides the light from the darkness. And light divides the spirit from the darkness. Right? All of it, we're just dividing from the darkness. Reason shall divide the light from the darkness and establish truth, whoa, in the midst of the waters. Wow. So reason divides the spirit, divides the light, because now that was kind of interchangeable. See how we got to read this stuff? Because first they were talking about dividing the spirit from the darkness, and then reason came in and was like, oh no, I'm also going to divide the light from the darkness. Okay, so interchangeable. Got it. Reason shall divide the light from the darkness and establish. Establish. That's a pretty big word. Establish. It is a very big word. It's not, there's absolutely nothing loosey-goosey about the word established. And establish truth in the midst of the waters. That's where it gets a little tricky. Understand, O Hermes, and meditate deeply upon the mystery. That which you sees and hears, so that which you see, plural, like you see all the time, and hears, they put S's on this, plural, what you hear all the time, is not of the earth, but is the Word of God incarnate. So it is said that divine light dwells in the midst of mortal darkness, and ignorance cannot divide them. Wow, what? Let's keep reading. The union of word and mind produces that mystery which is called life. I'm going to keep going, and then I'm going to go back to those waters. The heck is that about? The union of the word and the mind produces that mystery which is called life. As the darkness without you is divided against itself, so the darkness within you is likewise divided. Okay. The light and the fire which rise are the divine man. Okay, so light and fire which rise are the divine man, ascending in the path of the word. I swear to goodness, we just learned that word also was reason. Ascending in the path of word, and that which fails to ascend is the mortal man, which may not partake in immortality. Learn deeply of the mind and its mystery, for therein lies the secret of immortality. That was a lot to take in, huh, guys? A lot to take in. And I gotta go back to them waters. What are they talking about? What is this dragon talking about, right? Let's go back to the waters. Establish truth in the midst of the waters. So, some of you have maybe heard this term. And some, which has been so brilliant and lovely to watch, especially over the past couple of years, is really thinking about water. Really thinking about water. All sorts of concepts of water. Water represents emotion. Water represents our bodies. We're mostly water. It represents a lot of times the mind. It also represents the moon. It represents just the bodies of water on our planet. It represents the need that we have for water. It represents, a lot of people start realizing how much of the cosmos, the space, is really a whole lot like water. A lot of people start realizing that their thoughts move in and out like water. Oftentimes, if any of you have participated in listening to any of my over 200 meditations, quick 10-minute meditations, the link will be in the description after I get done here. Oftentimes when I start with those guided meditations, I say, allow those thoughts to move in and out with each breath, like water, just flowing in and out. Water. We're also talking a lot about the age of Aquarius that's coming. Cool. The water bear. There's so much going on about water, and I love it, man. I love it. Water is the key. What people also might not understand is there are some who reference timelines and what happens with collective and the all. Some represent it, or the fifth dimension and seventh dimension. Some reference that as water, the sea of neutrality or the sea of potentiality. I will tell you, the Akashic is really that kind of 0 point where all potentiality is. All potentiality. What that means is nothing's written in stone. It's like water. It's like water. Whoa. Water. Let me drink some water. So, going back to what we said, the name of the word is reason. Reason is the offspring of thought, and reason shall divide the light from the darkness and establish truth in the midst of the waters. So for me, who I am, who actually can see all the waters of potentiality, all of them, all the stories. For me personally, and you can take this how you want, I go, wow, light, reason shall divide the light, separate the light. Let's say, divide, we kind of maybe change up too much. Reason can separate the light from the darkness and establish truth in the waters. Establish truth in all potentialities. All potentialities. This is why, I've said it a bunch of times here, that the search for truth here in this three-dimensional is very difficult. And it's not necessarily ever going to happen in the 3D scope of things, because it is represented by water. I just gave a whole list from how water flows to how water represents emotions, to all of it. That every potentiality out there, all of it, is like flowing rivers of thought. All of it. So how can we even think that truth has been established here? I really, really. I don't think that it's not present, because I was just informed that it is established in the midst, so it's there somewhere in the waters. Wow, okay, so it's somewhere hanging out, floating around. Truth, it's somewhere. And I don't want this to sound discouraging. I don't. But it's I'm realizing more and more that when I say the all, people don't really can really grasp the all. So that, to me, that's a frustrating point for me, because it's just more of my awareness. You know, you don't know until you know, and I started meditating on the all when I was still in my 20s. I got 20 years ahead of supposedly a lot of people. And you do have to drop a lot of things to really pay attention, to really get it, to really not separate yourself from another part of creation, another form of creation. That takes a lot for a human to do. To say, yeah, I'm actually no different really than a reptilian. I'm actually really no different than a demon. I'm actually really no different than that spider. I'm actually really no different than any other living creature, being, energy. Very difficult for people to do. Because, people really do enjoy being victims, first of all. Yeah, I did it. I went there. Hey, welcome to Courtney's Voice. People do actually very much enjoy being victims. It sets them up really well. You know what I mean? But it's not even that. You have to get past that. Then you gotta get past a whole lot of layers of who you are as a human to then even understand and start wrapping your head around all is all. Period. But the light, okay, that's where I'm going to go back to this and keep reading. The light, the fire, which is awesome that they represented it here, the fire can be separated from darkness. So you don't have to actually, just because you're a part of darkness, in darkness, as he also said, the darkness that's divided amongst you, that you see and hear, is also divided within you. You can actually separate that. Takes a lot though, humans. Takes a lot. It's a choice. First you gotta choose. But you don't then judge the darkness for being darkness, because why? You done had it in you as well. You don't do that. Right? You get over it. Past that. Or get past that. So let's go into it then. Again. So we understand the waters. But we always have the waters understood. That there's infinite possibilities, infinite potentialities, and within each of those, there is truth somewhere. So, waters. Understand, O Hermes, and meditate deeply upon the mystery. That which in you sees and hears is not of the earth, but is the Word of God incarnate. So, because it's thought, because it's mind. It's mind. It's mind. I'm hoping I can just make that very easy and go on. That which you see and hear is not of earth, but is the Word of God incarnate. That just means mind, thought. So it is said that divine light dwells in the midst of mortal darkness. So in mortal darkness, you could see that in all ways, shapes, and forms, from death to bad mamma jammas to darkness. It does whatever. That light dwells in the midst of all mortal darkness, and ignorance. This is really key, guys. Ignorance cannot divide them. It cannot divide them. And I'm sure we understand, no, it won't divide those. It will not separate the light from the darkness. Ignorance definitely cannot divide them. The union, the coming together, the grand coming together. And please go back to what I was talking about with Atlantis and the Tower of Babel. The union. I love unions. I love it. The union of the word and the mind produces that mystery which is called life. What? Right? What? Well, damn, he just told us that what we see and what we hear is actually not the earth. Probably because the union between word and the mind is creating that life that we are seeing and hearing. Right? That union between word and mind is creating our separate individual worlds that we are seeing. All within the one. All within the all. As the darkness without you, so outside of you, that you see and hear, as the darkness without you is divided against itself, divided against itself, all that you see and hear of the darkness outside of you is divided against itself, so the darkness within you is likewise divided. Hence why it's very difficult for people to start peeling away the layers, all the layers of that divided darkness within and around. You don't see it anymore. You heal and remove and heal all the divided darkness outside of you, inside of you. This is why it's very hard to actually start wrapping our heads around the all. It is very hard for people to go, okay, you're a bad mamma jamma, you're a bad guy, but that's fine. You do you. It's very hard for them to do that. Because why? They're still worried about the divided darkness within. And they still see all the divided darkness around. But what's interesting is we just learned the union of word and the mind produces that mystery which is called life. And the only thing that truth is established in is the waters. Very hard to find and detect. You ever drop anything in a pool? Hell, in the ocean? You ain't never gonna get it. I'm just joking, guys. And so that's where the truth is. Oh, man. The light and the fire which rise are the divine man. So the light and the fire So that's awesome. Because light also can represent word. It can represent, I mean, we just went through it all. Light can be the spirit. Light can be the word. Light, light, light. But now they brought fire into it. Oh, and everybody here knows I love my fire. I love my fire. So if light is spirit, mind, reason, word, what's fire then? What's fire? What's fire? Okay. And I switch out spirit and soul with that. Usually I would have written this like soul is light, mind, thought, reason, spirit is fire. But at least they reference the fire here. That's all I care about. The light and the fire which rise above, separate from the darkness, because it's light that can do that. Rise are the divine man, human, ascending in the path of the word. And that which fails to ascend is the mortal man. Wow. Which may not partake in immortality. Learn deeply the mind and its mystery, for therein lies the secret of immortality. So man, we went from creation to where is the truth, to how mind and word are creating all of it. And that creation is actually the incarnation of God, creation, creating all of it. That's why in Hermetics it's called there is no material, there is only mental. And then we're learning all this little light of mine, can separate me from the darkness around and within. It can also help me with my lovely fire to ascend, so I don't have to keep being mortal and keep, I don't know, living with a bunch of darkness divided inside of me. All these little pockets of darkness all over the place. It doesn't have to happen. And then they say, learn deeply of the mind and its mystery, for therein lies the secret of immortality. That word secret came up again. I'm going to read the last line, or I'm going to read where that word secret came up again, or mystery. One more time, and I'm leaving it here where it is for a moment, where this is. Because again, he already said this, but he also left it with this. So I'm going to read the last sentence, and then I'm going to jump again up to the middle. Learn deeply of the mind and its mystery, for therein lies the secret of immortality. Jumping right back up. Understand, O Hermes, and meditate deeply upon the mystery. That which in you sees and hears is not of the earth, but is the Word of God incarnate. So it is said that divine light dwells in the midst of mortal darkness, and ignorance cannot divide them. Here we go. The union of word and mind produces that mystery which is called life. And it's interesting because mystery, well, we got to solve it, right? We got to solve the mystery then. And it literally just told us. Meditate and understand and learn deeply the mind. The mind. And when mind and word come together, the mystery is solved. I wonder when that happens, you get to jump into the water and you find some truth. And the more you're swimming in that water, the more you understand that what you hear and see is not of this earth, but of creation God. And that the waters are of creation. That your word and union of mind is the mystery of life that we can solve. From the light within that connects to the fire, that can lead to complete separation from the darkness into immortality, you accomplished the education of this earth school. I wonder. I just wonder, I explore my mind. I do. I explore it. Unfortunately now, though, it's been a long time since humans, hence going back to the very beginning, the Tower of Babel, we were always taught that was the humans really, they wanted to be like God, and they, in such a negative tone. I ain't no different than God. I'm no different than the gods. All is all. Mind is mind. There is no separation. And if we do need to put source at a higher level, appreciation of the greatness, the vastness, the joy, the blessings, the wonderfulness of life and creation, Great Spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, that is still all beautiful, well, and good. That is. That's an appreciation for creation. But there is no real big difference. Mind is mind. He just said God incarnated. Mind is mind. But, going back to the Tower of Babel, supposedly we were trying to get to God, get closer to God, be like God, be as powerful as God. God power, power source, because I related it also to Atlantis, having to go down and sink, and there's another flood story because of a power source being corrupted. Power, source, God. Look at all these key words here. And then with the Tower of Babel and Atlantis, man, everybody had to scatter. Everybody was forced to go somewhere else and started speaking a whole different language. That's so interesting because I just read and I was just told by what becomes Hermetics that the union between word and mind leads to all greatness. Pretty much. I mean, leads to everything. Leads to getting out of the darkness. But yet, none of us seem to speak the same language. We can't even start at the word, let alone the mind. And that's the point of today. Really. I mean, I'm hoping people enjoyed listening to my babble. This is really what I wake up to, like, every morning. Like, this is literally my thoughts in the morning. Of course, I've been up longer than 2 p.m. on a Sunday, but this is what I do. So yeah, that's my mind. How's your mind? What does your mind think about? words. I've talked about this many a times, but because I'm also teaching my moon manifesting class to my patrons, my glorious patrons who are also going to be starting to develop our telepathic psychic abilities. If you want to join, $5 or $8, the link is somewhere in this channel. Find it. It's in the about, and it's always usually in the description. And I'm Stars of the Morning Light. Literally, absolutely nobody has that name. Just find it. And this face is always going to be present. So, anyways, with that moon manifesting class, I just did a video for them last night about the power of word. Power of word is, as we just learned, extremely powerful. Word is what cuts through with light. Word is what we need for that union. Word from any ancient text is the most powerful. Word is what tells that light what to do. Word is what is creating, right? Well, I mean, you can't manifest and demonstrate and do anything without word, right? But they're saying now we got to connect the word with the mind. And that's a little bit more tricky. Little bit more tricky, because mind is a lot like waters. A little bit more tricky to actually speak the appropriate, correct words. And it's even harder for us to come together as humans to maybe have the power, source, be more godlike, humanity caring and taking care of humanity, humanity being a cohesive one. You can always, if you just came in, I would go back and listen to the beginning. Be really hard to do that when none of us are speaking the same at all. And so I said at the very beginning, I'm going to talk a bit about the states. The United States, man, we are wild. This is what happens. We are wild. Woo! We are definitely, we're a wild bunch over here. I tend to have to watch stuff and listen to stuff, and it's not so much for like, to disagree with people or in any form like that. It is really to be like, what are the words now? What are the words? Because if there's an attack, which is a word that a lot of people like to use, or if there's a manipulation on words, if words start changing, and I mean rapidly and fast, and it could be any words. I mean, I just said on one of these shows the other day, I had just learned that the word community does not mean what it used to mean. I use the word community all the time. When that is in place, and now it's been in place since the Tower of Bable, when that is in place, and humans are not understanding each other, how can word and mind ever come together? I mean, it's hard enough in its own self. That we discuss a lot with my patrons. How do you connect your consciousness, your true intentions, with the words that come out of your mouth? How do we do that? But anyone listening right now, the concept of why humans are not coming together is because of the dramatic shift in words, especially that goes much faster in today's world because of the internet. There are terms out there, the majority now, I do reference myself as an old lady because I don't know any of the terms being used. I don't know them, I don't get them, so I'm like, I'm officially an old lady now. which is awesome. I think I came out like an old lady. So now I finally get to like be that. You know, it's hard to be an old lady when you were like 21. Yeah, I'm an old lady. No, Courtney, no, you're not. Now I get to officially just call myself that and represent. Um, the play on words, though, is difficult for all generations, all peoples. So it'd be very hard for people to come together on anything for the most part right now. Because especially when words are being misused or might even be changing. And not all of us, like myself, old lady, can catch up that fast. And for the states, and I'm sure all of you can kind of read between the lines here. As I said at the beginning, all of this is metaphor, and you have to learn and understand and go deeply and meditate on things. Our beloved states, because I do love the United States of America. I don't know any different. So why would I, you know, are we messed up? Yeah. Yeah, like any dysfunctional family. We're not so united anymore, which is okay. That's okay in its own right as well, you know? Because it's, trust me, united in that form is not a clear representation as there is no separation of the all. That is not the case. But we're not so united anymore. That's fine. Okay. But it's hard for us to even form anything and handle what's going on when words are changing so rapidly. And what is apparent right now to really also anybody watching the United States from outside of the United States, I mean, they've known for years, like, whoa, shit. that is the Wild West. Like, whoa. America, United States, is going through a very severe identity crisis, it seems. A very severe identity issues. The United States has no idea what it is anymore. It's an identity issue. What are we as a collective? Or are we not a collective? It's an identity issue. What is the states? That's why it's picking and pulling and trying to grab hold of everything. And then that energy then, because the states, and this goes back and forth, remember? Like water, kind of just flowing. That energy of a collective, billions of people, really going through an identity of their homeland, of where they choose to live as well. I know a lot of foreign people that have chosen to live here. This is a great place to be. Those who have always been here, right? I know a lot of them as well. Either way, America is going through a very severe identity issue, crisis, if you will. And so is all of its people. You can't have something so big, energetically wise, not also affect its people. So now all the individuals within America are going through identity issues, identity crisis. And there's this big push for identities because America has no idea who and what it actually is. It's fascinating to watch from an outsider's view because I am always the observer. And everything's energy. There is no separation. So on a collective scale, for us Americans, yeah, this is an identity thing. America has no idea what it is. We're babes still. We're little babies, and now we've kind of gotten a little bit out of the toddler stage, and now we're at that the 8, 9, 10-year-old stage when it's like, damn, we're not even tweens yet. Like, we're not even tweens, but we want to try to find some kind of identity. It's crazy what we are. I love us, but that's why it's wild over here, folks. That energy present for the entire collective here then hits individuals. And then all the individuals are going through identity crisis. And I don't care. It does not matter to me at all what form your identity crisis comes in. At all. And I don't care what it is. What I do care about, though, is the words we're using when we are going through this. Because we're all going through it together, individually and collectively. We're all going through it together. And I hope we come together on the other side of everything. That America starts to understand more of its identity in love and light, right? And then individually, we can understand our identity in love and light. I mean, we all understand. I mean, let's say maybe I was a little bit mean on America there. Maybe America is just like 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. Maybe that's the age that America is, because we hit it hard and we hit it fast, and so we grew pretty fast, right? That's what we do. So let's make us 18, 19, 20-year-old. All of America. That's the energy of that identity crisis happening with America. Well, all of us who are grown and live through our individual 18, 19, 20-something-year-old selves, that's a standard time period for when you're trying to feel out who you really are. Some do it in college. Some do it by going into the workforce. Some do it, but that is the standard time where it's like, who am I really? Ideology. I mean, that's what happens biologically, sociology, all of it. That's psychology. That's what happens to individuals. No matter race, gender, it doesn't matter. That's what happens. And so America's kind of like that. And it's interesting to watch it play out then with individuals, because it's such a strong energy over America right now that's seeping through to everybody, and especially that age group. Who am I really? Who am I really? How do I want to represent myself? And the difficulty of today, and I am going to end with this, guys, because this is a lot to take in. I went from the Tower of Babel into Atlantis, into Hermes, and what the dragon was saying, the Polyander. I mean, this is a lot to take in. This is how I wake up in the morning. Yeah, Lori, you always talk about having coffee. We can do that like 2 in the afternoon maybe if we ever get together. You do not want to have coffee with me in the morning. Or maybe you do. Maybe you want to be like, whoa, this is a wake up. Let me tell you. We all know that for most of us, it was wonderful when we were able to find our identities and establish the truth for ourselves with the way it's naturally supposed to be done. With other social groups, getting together with other people, learning how we adapt, how we grow, how we want to represent ourselves, that first big job, this, that. I mean, out there, truly representing ourselves. And we know now it's difficult because it's done this way, via a camera, via a TikTok, Insta, YouTube. It's done this way. So the actual human social interactions where you can go, oh, I think I might have said something, or, ooh, I kind of like that guy or girl or human. I kind of like them. How do I want to represent all that interaction? All the interaction that happens in those young years of 18, 19, 20, 21, all of that. Who am I? What do I believe in? What are my convictions? That's why it's so passionate at that time. What are my convictions? I need to know who I am, which it's all going to change anyways. that is not done the same for us, or how it was for us. It's done differently now. It's done through this. And because it's done through this, and every human desires to be seen. Every human desires to be seen. In today's world, because it's done through this, the computer, a quick 90 seconds, everything is so dramatic. Everything is way overboard. Because it's to be seen. So it's a hardcore identity crisis that we don't have the social networks anymore, the human contact anymore, to develop it the way that we would, naturally. Because that's still present, very naturally. And now it's, oh my goodness, I can only be seen if I have so many likes. So what is the most insane thing I can come up with to just be seen? Those are forming and mixing. Our words are now getting way mixed up. Way mixed up. I'm still not over the fact that community is beginning to mean something else. I have to work on that. I don't know what the substitution would be for it. Unity, togetherness, oneness, I'm not sure. But when words are struggling to even connect with our own minds, and then very much struggling to connect with other social minds, identity coming to a new cause to create new effects, to create what we see. Because it's God incarnate, what you see, what you hear, all is mind. To do that becomes extremely difficult. Extremely difficult. So, I'm very always passionate about words. Very always passionate about words, but I also see where the game plan is and feel everything out, and this is the only reason that anyone should have any form of concern about the fact that these little electronics can not only hear our words, but they can also hear our minds now. It isn't the only thing that we need to be worried about, because they can control the words. That's it. Same as how, hey, all of you at the Tower of Bable, the power of God, power source, source God, Atlantis, Tower of Bable. Hey, all of you, we're just going to mess up your words. We're going to not have you talking to each other. It was already very much accomplished with the screen. And now it's very much being accomplished with nobody knows what anything means anymore. So, as America, and I know this is also happening all over the place, but we just like to represent the crazy. I do love us, man. We are wild. We are crazy. Crazy wild. I love it. Over here in America, it just seems, more emphasized, because we always had the right to be emphasized, to, express ourselves, which is the beauty of where we are. So take all that in, guys. Kind of really, read between the lines. I know you all are very intelligent humans that do understand the words coming out of my mouth, that compassion to self and others is always needed. And as America and its collective goes through this very odd identity issue time crisis, that we need to be able to pay attention to words that are shifting, changing, there is maybe no good or bad to everything. It's how do we come together to, I'm going to read the last sentence. I'm going to read that sentence one more time. The union of word and mind produces that mystery which is called life. So the life of all of us, collectively, because there is the all, is still also based on word and mind. So it's going to be very hard to do that during identity crisis. You know, you ever talk to an 18-year-old? Oh my God. You know, okay, kid, I'll see you in 5 years, right? It's going to be hard. We can do it. I believe in us. Let's look at our card one last time and I'll let you all go. Because our card was consciousness. Our card was consciousness. There's a lot to interpret here and a lot to go through, so I appreciate everybody participating and taking it all in. I really do. There was lots of food for thought. Thought for the mind. Number 17, consciousness. The frequency of consciousness supports our ability to focus our attention on all the multi-dimensional aspects that show up. I'm going to emphasize again, all of the stories, all of the potentialities, that there's some truth in all of those. All of the multi-dimensional aspects that show up. That mystery that's called life, that seem to show up. So that we can include them in our reality. There's a whole lot of stuff. Whole lot of stuff. That's a beautiful card. I like that I have this new camera, because you guys can see all those little circles coming off of each other. All of those individual hemispheres. All of those little individual pockets of people, groups, selves, nations, worlds, all coming together, touching each other, connected to one another. All, I'm sure, communicating, most likely via consciousness. So, I love you all. A lot to think about. Not for your mind. I love you all. And keep shining. Light is what separates, divides the darkness around and the darkness within. That is also divided within itself. So, light, my beloveds, light. Love you guys. Talk to you later.